Now, one of the biggest victims of the pandemic is the aviation sector, and now reports say that the Dubai-based Emirates group is planning to cut about 30,000 jobs to reduce the cash burning amidst the outbreak. If it happens, then almost 30% of more than 105,000 Emirates employees could lose their jobs. Reports say that the company is also considering speeding up the planned retirement of its A380 aircraft fleet.
This is Kabuga, Felicien.
He was one of the world's most wanted fugitives, 84-year-old Felicien Kabuga, the man accused of financing the militias that massacred 800,000 people in 100 days during the Rwandan genocide. Until his arrest in France, he had been on the run from international justice for 25 years. Kabuga had been indicted by the United Nations International Criminal Tribunal in 1997 on 7 counts of genocide. But the former businessman managed to avoid arrest, using his powerful international connections to evade capture. Kabuga had been living under a false identity in this apartment in Asnières-sur-Seine, near the centre of Paris. He had previously lived in Germany, Belgium, the Democratic Republic of Congo, as well as Kenya and Switzerland.
Now to Hong Kong, where a fight broke out earlier in Parliament. There was fury from pro-democracy politicians after a pro-Beijing politician was elected as chairwoman for a key committee. It's meant to scrutinize bills and had been without a leader since late last year. The backlog of bills includes one that criminalizes mocking China's national anthem. And 15 anti-government protesters are appearing in a Hong Kong court charged over last year's mass rallies. The group was arrested in April, accused of helping to organize protests which were banned by the city's authorities. UN human rights experts have called for all of them to be released and for charges to be dropped. The first Hong Kong protester to admit to writing charges was sentenced to 4 years in prison on Friday.
Former President Obama seemed to suggest that you weren't even pretending to be in charge. What's your response?
So I think we had a great weekend. We did a lot of terrific meetings. Tremendous progress is being made on many fronts, including coming up with a cure for this horrible plague that has beset our country. I think a lot of things have happened. Very good. It was a working weekend. It was a good weekend. A lot of very good things have happened. Look, he was an incompetent president. That's all I can say. Grossly incompetent. Thank you.
More than anything, this pandemic has finally torn back the curtain on the idea that so many of the folks in charge know what they're doing. A lot of them aren't even pretending to be in charge.
Civilians from Syria's Idlib and Aleppo provinces know their communities are prime targets for the regime. Every attack, even the threat of an attack, has sent hundreds of thousands scrambling for safety. Officials in Ariha say 35 to 40% of its residents have recently returned. Some came back to avoid COVID-19 infection in crowded displacement camps. But more than one attempt at a ceasefire has collapsed over the last decade of war. Ariha officials say residents don't know how long they'll be able to stay.
We can't say that the region is stable, or it's heading towards a military offensive, or towards a permanent ceasefire, because all things are foggy now.
Marking the 40th year of the Gwangju Democratic Uprising, a commemorative ceremony was held in South Korea's southwestern city Monday, with surviving victims and bereaved family members in attendance. On May 18, 1980, hundreds of demonstrators were killed in a protest against Chun Doo-hwan's military dictatorship, calling for an end to his declaration of martial law and the release of dissident leader Kim Dae-jung. President Moon Jae-in, in a special interview aired Sunday, once again emphasized the need to find the truth about who ordered the use of military force against civilian protesters back then. He also warned against any attempts to conceal or distort the truth about the military violence.
Authorities in Oklahoma announced the end to a decades-long cold case out of Tulsa. Police arresting 62-year-old Tommy Edward Harris on Thursday, charging him with first-degree murder and unlawful removal of a dead body. Investigators say Harris is responsible for killing 31-year-old Kim Marlene McVeigh at a Tulsa home back in May of 1992. The two were among a group of people living there at the time. Officials say it all started when another man arrived to confront Harris, hoping to settle a drug deal gone bad. The man, who has since died, engaged in a shouting match with Harris. A gun battle then ensued. The man used McVeigh as a human shield while shouting at Harris, who was still inside the home. That's when Harris fired his gun through a window toward the man, instead shooting McVeigh in the head. Police say Harris then dragged the woman's body into the house, later burying her remains behind a backyard shed.
And liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket with USSF-7 for the United States Space Force on a mission dedicated...
A launch dedicated to COVID-19 responders. The Atlas V rocket shot into orbit from Cape Canaveral this morning. It's taken an unmanned X-37B space plane on a secret mission. A small research satellite developed the Air Force Academy was also deployed. Well, cloudy weather forced mission control to skip yesterday morning's launch.